Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Andrew Laidley. Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Dr. Andrew Wheatley is urging Jamaicans to remain vigilant and protect their information in light of the Wangiri phone scam that has been affecting numerous phone subscribers between Saturday, July 1 and Sunday, July 2. A number of subscribers on the digital network received phone calls which appeared to be originating from Poland. The calls are a type of scam known as Wangiri. Wangiri is a Japanese word meaning one ring and cut. On receipt of the calls, subscribers are given particular instructions, and in some cases where the call was missed and the subscriber returned the call, they incurred a premium charge. That is why the minister says he's urging users to stay vigilant and ignore any calls from unexpected or unfamiliar country codes. However, he says if you answer inadvertently, do not follow the instructions given and hang up quickly. Dr. Wheatley says other tips to ensure data security also include setting passwords that are hard to guess and keeping passwords and PIN numbers protected, as well as setting up passwords or PIN numbers so only you can access your voicemail. Dr. Wheatley adds that the ministry is always on alert and is imploring Jamaicans who receive these calls and think they may be a victim to contact the ministry's Cyber Incident Response Team, their telephone service provider, or the local police. Director of the Mona School of Engineering at the UWI Mona, Dr. Paul Akin, says Jamaica needs a building act because a building code is not enough. He was giving a presentation at the Mona School of Business Public Advocacy Series on public-private partnerships recently. Nordia Francis Williams reports.
Dr. Aiken says the government has given instructions to revise Jamaica's building code in order to obtain a grant from the World Bank for infrastructural development.
The PERB, Professional Engineering Registration Board, was approached by the government to work with JSIF to revise our building codes, particularly because there is a massive loan to be obtained, or grant rather, to be obtained from the World Bank to facilitate infrastructure development to make us more resilient to environmental and natural disasters, etc. And the World Bank said, we are not going to do it unless you can guarantee us that you have a very structured and solid method of doing construction that is consistent with best practices around.
He argues that the country needs to adapt to the practices of the International Code Council, ICC, where most of the codes are based.
We have 11 codes, and it goes right down, electrical, plumbing, everything. And most of those are based on the international codes from the ICC, the International Code Council, and they revise their codes every 3 years. So we have to get in that habit.
However, he says there is still a problem of not having a building act, which can affect agreements including private-public partnerships, PPPs.
So there is nothing we can do if a contractor, if an engineer, design an infrastructure that is not consistent with the code. You do not have a legal pathway to pursue that contractor, unless you are very meticulous and you ensure that in your PPP or in your loan contract or in your contract with the contractor, whatever it is, you write all of that in.
For BATV News, I'm Nordia Francis Williams.
President of the MSME Alliance, Donovan Wigan, says there's a shortage of data on the local medium, small and micro enterprises MSME sector. However, he says the new Wealth MSME Alliance magazine launched recently should change that, as well as enhance the global competitiveness of Jamaican MSMEs. Amita Prasad Webb reports.
The MSME Alliance president says the good thing about the recently launched Wealth MSME Alliance magazine is the fact that it's a publication produced by entrepreneurs who are also a part of the target MSME market.
The MSME Business Insider is a Jamaican and Caribbean-centric small business magazine. You can consider it a trade publication because it is produced by and is about the MSME sector. It speaks the language of entrepreneurs about medium, small and micro enterprises, the economic environment in which they operate, and the strategic alliances, partnerships, information and access they need to succeed.
He says the MSME Business Insider will give a voice to entrepreneurs in the MSME sector.
All our issues going forward, you will see that the MSME Business Insider is about activism for MSMEs. Lobbying, mentoring, educating, informing, representing, showcasing, fostering, collaboration, and promoting capacity building initiatives that will enhance the global competitiveness of Jamaican MSMEs.
Mr. Wiggin says the magazine, which will be published quarterly, should assist over time with the increasing amount of information and data available about local MSMEs.
I think the ministry, the DBJ, and all the organizations that are seeking to provide positive interventions for the MSME sector, there is a shortage of data to really drive whatever is needed by the sector, how they provide for those needs. So we look to the future where this magazine actually become a repository of data where we will collect and disseminate data that will help to provide the institutions, such as what I mentioned earlier, with the necessary data that they can provide even better interventions for the sector going forward.
For BATV News, I'm Amita Prasad Webb.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness left the island this afternoon for the 38th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, in St. George's, Grenada. The regular meeting will be held under the chairmanship of Dr. Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, from July 4 to 6. The Holness administration says the conference provides a forum for heads of government to engage in discussions on issues of critical importance to the region. It also provides an opportunity to develop innovative programs of action in response to the challenges facing CARICOM in the areas of security, trade, and economic development. The Prime Minister's delegation include Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, along with officials from the ministry, as well as Press Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Naomi Francis. During the Prime Minister's absence, Dr. Horace Chang, Minister without portfolio in the ministry, in the Office of the Prime Minister, will be in charge of the government. Prime Minister Holness returns to the island on Friday, July 7. Still to come, Adam Stewart says young people will lead Jamaica to the economic growth it's been looking for. The details when we return. Welcome back. Deputy Chairman and CEO of the ATL and Sandals Group, Adam Stewart, says it's time for the next cohort of business leaders in Jamaica to pick up the mantle and lead the country towards greater economic growth. Mr. Stewart was speaking over the weekend at a Millennial to Millennial Mingle, which he hosted in Montego Bay. Here's more. Adam Stewart says the youth population is starting to believe in the country once again. That's why he says it's an opportune time to connect with that generation.
It's an opportunity right now in Jamaica, for this new generation to build back the business class and the working class in the country that for the last 2 decades, the mission was to leave Jamaica in many ways and not to build Jamaica. So I see, a lot of us here see an opportunity. We're seeing diaspora members coming back to Jamaica, People want to be home, but create those opportunities and follow your dreams.
Mr. Stewart argues that the Jamaican economy should have been growing at a faster pace, but he believes that the next generation is poised to lead the country into the kind of growth which is needed.
So I think what we're seeing now is, when the world over the last, since independence has grown at 3.1% GDP growth, and we have grown at sub 1% GDP growth, with Jamaica being English speaking, being right under the largest economy of the world, in the mouth of the Panama Canal, which connects the east and west, the mountains, the rivers, the culture, the food, just the entrepreneurship. Jamaica should not be in the financial position that it's in.
He says connecting with the millennial generation will equip them with the tools they'll need to navigate the challenges which will arise in the business environment.
So the first thing we're seeing is an acceptance that we should not be where we are, and then recognizing that those before us have done their time. they've done their dues, and it is really incumbent on the younger generation, the millennial generation, to power through over the next 20 years and play our role in creating that economic activity and that opportunity that will play into the reduction in crime, will play into the addition of paying taxes, building Jamaica, employing people. That's what we're here to do.
Caribbean Cream Creamy has released its annual report for the year ended February 28, 2017. The company says it recorded a net profit of $172.7 million, which represents a 5% or $8.9 million increase over the corresponding period last year. Anthony Morgan reports.
Caribbean Cream says gross profit achieved for the year was some $458 million, an increase of $8 million or 2% when compared to last year. The group says that figure is a result of revenue for the year standing at $1.2 billion, increasing by 7% or $78.6 million, as well as the costs associated with operating revenues for the year, which were $755 million, an increase of $70 million or 10% above last year. Caribbean Cream says the increased costs were mainly affected by the adoption of a new maintenance process for the company's plant and equipment, higher than expected costs in the main raw materials, local price increases such as storage costs of raw materials, addition of key personnel, and the devaluation of the Jamaican dollar. Meanwhile, Caribbean Cream says total operating expenses for the year totaled $292.9 million, or 1% above last year. The company says administrative costs totaled $231.7 million, with marketing, sales, and distribution costs at $47.8 million. Transportation costs totaled some $19.9 million. Meanwhile, Caribbean Cream says its finance cost totaled $13.4 million, which was less than last year by 25% or $4.4 million. The company says total assets less current liabilities were $672.8 million, an increase of $133.2 million over last year, with property, plant, and equipment for the year amounting to $422 million. In the meantime, capital expenditure increased by $112 million, with current assets also being above last year by $73 million. For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
CEO and the chairman of Derrimon Trading Company, Derek Cotterill, says the company has expansion ambitions which have led to strategic partnerships in the region and internationally. Mr. Cotterill was speaking at the recent Mayberry Monthly Investor Forum held in Kingston. Here's Anika Robinson with more.
According to the Derrimon Trading Company's chairman and CEO, there's tremendous value to be gained from engaging in partnerships. He says it would have been impossible to accomplish all the company has.
We continue to look at partnerships, and we look at partnership in the widest sense. We partner with our suppliers, we partner with even our competitors. We have partnerships with where it makes sense to have strategic gains. We don't necessarily want to do it alone, and like I say, we have a bigger vision for our company and a bigger vision for Jamaica.
Mr. Cotterill says Derrimon is not limiting itself to Jamaica, as the opportunities outside of the country are vast.
We don't believe that we should be inhibited by the Jamaica space and the diaspora, and so we look for international partners, and we have developed quite a good relationship with people in Suriname, in England, in New York. We're building some relationships in India. And as these relationships grow, you'll find that they may be in a particular segment of business, but they will want to grow into other segments of business.
In the meantime, Mr. Cotterill, who is also the managing director of Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, says he'll be using partnerships to launch a new arm of flavor and fragrance business in Jamaica.
In terms of CFF is no secret. CFF is going to go into the extraction of flavors, oleoresins and oils and fragrances. And so rather we inventing a technology, or we go to where very similar places, but they are way ahead of us in that kind of technology. places in India where they do a lot of extractions. And so we are looking for partnerships in those areas to bring that technology here in Jamaica.
For BATV News, I'm Annika Robinson.
Stay with us. Regional and international stories are next. Welcome back. It's time now for regional and international news. An advocacy group for Barbadians who offer their homes to visitors through the home share program Airbnb is warning the government that over-regulation of the sharing economy would be counterproductive. The Barbados Entrepreneurship and Tourism Association, BETA, says over-regulation would make it difficult for ordinary Barbadians to play a part in the growth of the sector, with a rising number of visitors choosing homestay programs such as Airbnb over hotels. The formal sector has been calling for regulations and taxation of the short-term accommodation providers. Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, Rudy Grant, has confirmed that new guidelines were being drafted to include regulation of the short-term rental programs. But BETA's president has warned that the world of accommodation was changing, especially through the use of online platforms such as Airbnb, and the Barbados government must heed international advice to become more relevant to modern tourism markets. The country were to remain a leader in the hospitality and tourism sector. Fishing has always been a big industry in Qatar, but the blockade is threatening the future of the thousands of fishermen who still ply the waters of the Gulf. Al Jazeera's Tony Bertley reports from off the coast of Qatar.
Ahmed has been married 4 times, but he says his greatest love has always been the sea. He's fished the waters around Qatar for nearly 50 years. It provided a good living for his family. He and his small crew use cages on the seabed to catch the fish.
The sea has different areas. Some have more sulfur, others have stronger currents, and some areas have more stones. This cage has been in the water for the past 3 months. It still has another 2 to 3 months of use left in it. We'll then have to replace it with a new one.
Replacements are the problem for Ahmed and the thousands of other fishermen that use cages. Most are made in the United Arab Emirates, one of the 4 countries that has imposed a trade and transport blockade on Qatar.
The big fishing companies still have some stocks of cages, but the don't. Even if the Qatar factories that make them worked 24 hours a day, they wouldn't even be able to produce a quarter of the cages we need.
The father of 8 retired recently, but still fishes 4 times a week for extra cash. Ahmed is fortunate he doesn't rely solely on fishing for his livelihood, but many others do. And while big businesses and flagship projects can more easily absorb losses and increase costs, ordinary people can't.
This is affecting many fishermen. Some still have their boats stuck in the Emirates. This costs them money as they have to pay tariffs, and they have loans to pay. It's a double loss. All we want is to make a living and live as we did before this crisis. People shouldn't be affected by politics. In the Gulf, we are all one people, from the same family. Whether they are in Qatar, the Emirates, Saudi, Bahrain or Oman, we are the same.
But the people are being affected, and they can only look on and hope that the politicians can restore the calm and stability that the Gulf has enjoyed for years. Tony Bertley, Al Jazeera, off the coast of Qatar.
Airbus is launching a reorganization of its commercial aircraft sales operations in a move likely to focus fresh attention on a delicate balance of power at Europe's largest aerospace company. Sarah Lee reports.
There have been simmering tensions since an internal merger at Airbus, and its latest shake-up could lead to more turbulence. The globe-trotting sales team, best known for contesting leadership of the market with Boeing, is set to report directly to Airbus Chief Executive Tom Enders and bypassing commercial aircraft president Fabrice Bregier. How responsibility is divided inside the company could prove challenging, particularly after recent industrial and regulatory problems. And the shake-up comes fresh off the back of last week's Paris Air Show, where Airbus lost to Boeing.
It's quite possible that reshuffle is a function of the relatively poor showing of Airbus in terms of its order book this year. I mean, if you look at the numbers, I mean, Airbus at the moment is something like 140 planes shy of where Boeing's tally comes in.
Bregier and Enders have long been rivals, but had reached what was widely seen as a peace deal over the internal merger. Bregier stepped aside from his role as chief executive of the Airbus civil business when Airbus combined with Airbus Group. But he remained in charge of the plane-making business. Some say the decision to sales from his direct control raises uncertainty over the stability of the management deal.
In a tweet Sunday night, Tesla's CEO Elon Musk said Tesla's Model 3 sedan passed all regulatory requirements for production 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Fred Katayama reports.
The first Tesla Model 3 is getting off the assembly line on Friday. That's what Tesla CEO Elon Musk tweeted on Sunday night. He also said that the mass-market sedan passed all regulatory requirements for production 2 weeks ahead of schedule. He also tweeted, "Production grows exponentially, so August should be 100 cars and September above 1,500. Looks like we can reach 20,000 Model 3 cars per month in December." Tesla stock fell on the news. Edmonds' Jessica Caldwell.
It's still going to be hard to meet the demand, but I think what he is doing is sending a sign out to those hundreds of thousands of people who are on the waiting list. He's saying to them, hey, don't lose faith, don't lose hope. I'm, moving this along faster than you probably thought was possible.
Tesla's previous launches for its Model S sedan and Model X sport utility vehicle were hit by production delays and initial quality issues. That made some analysts skeptical about the Model 3's July launch. Tesla has taken deposits on more than 300,000 Model 3s. The car costs $35,000.
Talking Stocks is after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for Talking Stocks. 48 stocks traded today, of which 17 advanced, 19 declined, and 7 traded firm. The main JC index advanced by 1,705 points to close at 236,747. The junior index declined by 26 points to close at 3,195 points. Over 3 million units traded, valued at more than $77 million on the Jamaican dollar market. And on the US dollar market, over 83,000 units traded, valued at more than 19,000 US dollars. Scotia Group Jamaica, with over 1 million units changing hands, accounted for 39% of the market volume. JMMB Group, 7.5%, was second, with over 996,000 units trading. Jetcon Corporation, with over 349,000 units, accounted for 10% of the market volume, crossing the floor. Pulse Investments was the top advancer, up 48 cents to close at $3.38, followed by Epley, up 95 cents to close at $12.95, and Caribbean Producers, up 20 cents to close at $3.69. The main decliners were Berger Paints, losing $1.72 to close at $15, followed by General Accident Insurance Company, down 30 cents to close at $3, and Dolphin Cove, down $1.33 to close at $18.67. And in foreign exchange trading, the US dollar ended the day selling for $128.50 against the Jamaican dollar. The Canadian went for $98.94, while the British pound closed the day selling for $166.39 on average. And that's all the news we have for this evening, but before we go, a recap of our top story. Minister of Science, Energy and Technology Dr. Andrew Wheatley is urging Jamaicans to remain vigilant and protect their information in light of the 1G phone scam that has been affecting numerous phone subscribers. Thanks for watching. For more content, visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Andrew Laidley. Pleasant viewing.